When people imagine the fall of Rome, they picture barbarians storming the gates, Roman legions collapsing, or emperors being murdered inside marble palaces. But empires rarely collapse because of one enemy. They weaken from within. And one of the most destructive forces is money. Rome didn't fall because of currency alone, but its currency crisis exposed something far more dangerous. When people lose faith in money, they begin to lose faith in the system behind it. Welcome to Black Box, where money, power, and history collide. For centuries, Rome's economic backbone was the denarius, a silver coin trusted across the empire. Soldiers were paid with it. Merchants accepted it. Ordinary Romans saved it. The denarius wasn't simply money. It was confidence in metal form. As long as people trusted Rome, they trusted its currency. But maintaining an empire was enormously expensive. Legions had to be paid. Roads had to be built. Wars had to be financed. Borders had to be defended. Eventually, tax revenues could no longer keep up with the costs. So Roman emperors turned to an old financial trick, debasement. Instead of raising unpopular taxes, they reduced the amount of precious metal inside the coins. Under Augustus, the denarius contained roughly 95% silver. Centuries later, its silver content had fallen dramatically. Eventually, coins that once represented valuable silver became mostly base metal with only a thin silver coating. The coin looked similar, but its real value had disappeared, and people noticed. Prices rose. Soldiers demanded higher wages. Merchants became reluctant to accept increasingly worthless coins. In some places, people returned to barter or demanded payment in more reliable forms of money. The government responded by producing even more debased currency. And that created a vicious cycle. Less value in each coin meant higher prices. Higher prices meant greater demands for money, and more money meant further loss of confidence. The crisis became especially severe during the 3rd century crisis, when Rome endured decades of civil wars, invasions, disease, political instability, and economic disruption. The currency was deteriorating at the same time the empire was struggling to hold itself together. Eventually, Emperor Diocletian attempted to control prices by decree. In AD 301, he issued the Edict on Maximum Prices, setting limits on thousands of goods and services. But there was a problem. You can control a price by law. You cannot force people to believe a worthless currency is valuable. Black markets expanded, and official trade suffered. Eventually, Rome introduced a more stable gold coin, the solidus, under Constantine. It restored some monetary stability and remained important for centuries in the Eastern Roman Empire. But in the West, the damage was already deep. The lesson wasn't simply that Rome ran out of silver. It was that trust in money is part of the foundation of political power. And Rome wasn't the last civilization to learn. This lesson. More than 1,000 years later, Germany experienced one of history's most infamous cases of hyperinflation. After World War I, Germany faced enormous financial obligations. The government increasingly relied on money creation to meet its costs. By 1923, prices were exploding. A loaf of bread that had once cost around 1 mark could eventually cost billions. People carried wages in wheelbarrows. Savings disappeared. And those who owned real assets, foreign currency, land, or businesses were often far better protected than people living on fixed incomes. The currency had stopped functioning as a reliable store of value. Then came Zimbabwe. In the 2000s, economic collapse and declining production were followed by extreme money creation. Inflation became so severe that prices could change faster than shops could update them. Eventually, Zimbabwe abandoned its currency and people turned to foreign currencies. Different country, different century. Same fundamental problem. When trust in money disappears, money stops working. And you don't need hyperinflation to see the effect. Modern economies also experience a quieter version of the same phenomenon. Take the United States. In 1971, President Richard Nixon ended the dollar's convertibility into gold. The dollar became a fully fiat currency, money whose value depends primarily on confidence in the economic and political system behind it, rather than a fixed quantity of precious metal. Since then, the money supply, government debt, and purchasing power of the dollar have changed dramatically. The bills still look familiar, but what those bills can buy has changed. And that's the deeper lesson. Currency doesn't have to become completely worthless before people feel its decline. A gradual loss of purchasing power can also reshape society. Inflation reduces